All right, let's kick off this deep dive. You've sent over a bunch of interesting stuff about Vodafone Idea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, their Q2 FY25 report, press releases, even some analyst takes on what's going on.
Cool.
Yeah. Looks like they're really trying to make some waves in the Indian telecom market.
Yeah.
Huge 4G expansion plans, massive investment strategy, and they're even diving headfirst into 5G.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, because Vodafone Idea,
VAL.
VIL, yeah, exactly, VIL as everyone calls them, it's not like they're just trying to keep up with the pack anymore.
Right.
They're making moves that say, hey, we want to be the top dog.
Yeah, and for anyone who needs a quick refresher, VIL is a pretty big player in India.
For sure.
A joint venture between the Aditya Birla Group and the Vodafone Group, right? Offering a whole range of services, mobile, broadband, enterprise solutions. They do it all.
Yeah.
But it seems like right now their main focus is really pushing that 4G network even further.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're aiming for, get this, 1.1 billion people covered by 4G by March 2025. And it doesn't stop there, no. They want to hit 1.2 billion by September 2025.
Wow.
Basically trying to bring high-speed data to practically all of India.
It's ambitious.
It is?
And their report actually shows that they're really putting their money where their mouth is on this.
Oh, yeah.
4G data capacity is up 14%.
Okay.
They've expanded coverage to an additional 22 million people. Added, get this, a record-breaking 42,000 4G sites just last quarter.
Wow. That's huge.
And 4G speeds are up as much as 18% in those upgraded areas. So for someone like me who just wants a decent connection, what does all that actually mean?
Well, basically, all those numbers add up to a much smoother, faster, more reliable experience for you as a user.
Okay.
Faster downloads, seamless streaming, you won't be seeing that dreaded buffering wheel as much.
Yeah.
And fewer dropped calls. But achieving all that, they're spending a serious amount of cash.
Yeah, I was going to say.
VIL's got deals worth a staggering, ready for this, RNS $300 billion, with major players like Nokia, Ericsson, and Samsung for all that network equipment.
Okay, so big investments, but is it paying off? Their financials for Q2 FY25 kind of tell a bit of a mixed story.
Yeah, it is a bit of a mixed bag, isn't it?
Revenue is up 4% from the last quarter. Customer revenue climbed 5.6%, probably helped by those tariff hikes they introduced back in July. And their EBITDA, that's essentially how profitable their core operations are, right?
Exactly.
Up 10.5%, reaching its highest point since the merger. Even their EBITDA margin, which shows how efficiently they're making money, improved to 21.3%.
Yeah, you're spot on. Some definite positives there. But they did report a PAT loss of Rs 71.8 billion.
Right.
Still, they do have Rs 136.2 billion in cash and bank balances as of September 30, 2024.
Right.
So while it's not all sunshine and rainbows, it's not an immediate cause for panic either.
Okay, so not out of the woods yet, but they're working on it. And they're definitely not slowing down on the investment front.
Not at all.
Q2 FY25 capital expenditure was Rs 13.6 billion, and they're planning to spend another Rs 80 billion in the second half of FY25.
Yeah.
That's a ton of cash being pumped into making things better.
And they're not just randomly throwing money at the problem. They're actually being pretty strategic about it.
Oh, yeah.
They've wrapped up what they call their quick win CapEx.
Okay.
Basically, that's where they focused on immediate improvements just to, show some fast progress.
Right.
While at the same time working on those long-term contracts for the bigger, more fundamental upgrades. This quick win approach is pretty interesting, right? It's almost like they're trying to keep investors and customers happy with these quick, visible improvements while they build for the long haul.
Right. Yeah. It makes sense. Do you think it's a sustainable strategy, though?
That's the million-dollar question. I guess we'll have to see how quickly those quick wins actually translate into real, tangible benefits for users and whether they can maintain that momentum with these long-term projects.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act for sure.
Yeah. What's interesting is they're even getting into the technical nitty-gritty.
Oh, yeah.
Things like deploying 4G on the sub-gigahertz 900 band in over 20,000 sites. Now, look, I'm no engineer, but even I know that better network coverage is a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. Using that 900 band is a really smart move. See, lower frequencies, they travel further and they can penetrate buildings better, so wider coverage, especially in those tricky areas.
Makes sense.
And it seems to be paying off. OpenSignal, they're a pretty well-respected mobile analytics company. They just named VIL the best 4G network in India, topped all 6 experience categories that OpenSignal measures.
Wow.
That's a pretty big deal, especially in a market as competitive as India. It really shows they're making some real progress, at least when it comes to network quality.
That's impressive. But let's step back for a second and look at the bigger picture here. The Indian telecom market itself is booming, right?
It is.
Driven by that Digital India program and more affordable smartphones becoming available.
Yeah, and that's where things get really interesting. See, the number of wireless broadband subscribers is going through the roof.
Yeah.
But the overall broadband penetration is still under 65%. So you've got this massive untapped market out there, which is a huge growth opportunity for VIL. But they need to be really smart about how they approach it.
So huge opportunity, but also huge pressure to perform.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a classic high risk, high reward kind of situation.
Right.
And to make it in this landscape, VIL needs to find that balance, investing in the latest tech like 5G, but at the same time making sure their services are still affordable.
Right.
It's a tough line to walk, especially with the competition in India.
Yeah, so how are they tackling that? From what I'm seeing here, they've got like a multi-pronged strategy going on.
They do.
They're being very targeted with their investments, picking key areas where they see the biggest bang for their buck.
Yes.
They've also raised tariffs, to boost that all-important ARPU.
Average revenue per user.
Exactly. Basically trying to get more out of each customer.
Yeah.
And they're pushing hard to become like a one-stop shop for digital services, exploring partnerships, new revenue streams. It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
If they can offer more than just your basic connectivity.
It's about the whole package.
Yeah, maybe that helps them stand out.
Exactly. And they've launched a few interesting things to back that up.
Oh, yeah.
They've revamped that V-Movies and TV platform, trying to make it a more attractive entertainment package.
Okay.
And they've got V1 now, bundles broadband, mobile OTT services, all in one plan.
Convenient.
It's all about grabbing those customers and keeping them happy with convenience and value, but is it enough?
That's the question, right?
Yeah.
People have so many choices these days.
Exactly.
What makes these offerings stand out?
Yeah, and that's where things get a little unclear.
Oh.
The sources, they don't give us a lot of details about their partnerships or the content they're offering.
Okay.
And that lack of clarity, it is a little worrying. If they want to compete with, the big guys like Netflix or Amazon Prime,
Sure.
they got to have something truly special.
They can't just throw a bunch of stuff together and hope it sticks.
Right. They need a real content strategy.
Yeah.
And those partnerships, they have to bring real value to the table.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked investments, network improvements, the push for digital services. But what about the financial side?
Yeah.
What are the analysts saying about all this?
Well, the stuff you sent over, it's got some pretty interesting takes from analysts and investors.
Okay.
It's a mix of, I'd say, cautious optimism and some valid concerns.
Okay.
Management, they seem to be putting on a brave face,
Okay.
highlighting the equity they've raised, the spectrum they snagged in the June auction, and of course the positive impact of that tariff hike, at least in the short term. But analysts, they're not fully sold yet.
So what are the big question marks hanging over VIL?
Well, the biggest one, can they start bleeding customers? They've been losing them for a while now. And analysts, they're not sure if these initiatives are enough to turn the tide.
Okay.
They're also wondering, will that tariff hike actually lead to sustained ARPU growth? Or will it just drive even more customers away?
So higher prices,
Yeah.
but potentially fewer customers.
That's the tightrope they're walking.
Yeah, training.
And then there's the elephant in the room, those financial burdens.
Right, the bank guarantees and AGR dues.
Exactly. That's stuff they owe the government.
Been a major headache for VIL.
It has.
Analysts want to see real progress there.
Absolutely. They need to see that resolved.
So, pretty big challenges on their plate. How's VIL responding to all these concerns? Are they addressing them head on?
Well, they are, to a point.
Okay.
They're putting a lot of emphasis on their network expansion, the 5G rollout,
Right.
arguing that a better network will keep customers happy and attract new ones.
Mm-hmm.
They're also laying out all the factors they believe will drive ARPU growth.
Right.
Things like, increasing data consumption, upselling customers to those higher tier plans.
Right. Makes sense.
And they're trying to be open about those discussions with the government, good about those financial issues.
Transparency.
Exactly. It's all about being transparent.
So they're acknowledging the challenges, outlining their plans, but it still feels like a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
Like they're walking a tightrope, balancing short-term gains with that long-term sustainability.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
That's what makes VIL's story so fascinating.
it is.
A company at a crossroads,
Yeah,
trying to reinvent themselves in a market that's changing so rapidly.
right.
It's a wild ride.
Okay, so we've talked about investments, the network, their push into digital services, the whole financial picture, but we haven't really touched on what they could be doing differently.
Right, there's always room for improvement.
Exactly.
And when we come back, I want to dig into that a bit.
Okay.
Explore some areas where VIL could maybe, make some bolder moves, shake things up a bit.
Okay, so you were saying VIL could be making some bolder moves?
Yeah.
What were you thinking?
Well, one area that often gets overlooked is partnerships.
Okay.
Strategic partnerships.
Yeah.
We touched on it a bit when we talked about their digital services.
Right.
But I think they could really push the envelope here.
Oh, yeah. In what way?
Think about it. VIL is strong in some areas,
Yeah.
but there are other companies out there with strengths that could really complement theirs.
Makes sense.
Like, imagine if they partnered with the major e-commerce player in India.
Yeah.
Suddenly, your VI1 plan isn't just about calls and data.
Right.
It's about exclusive shopping discounts, faster delivery, maybe even tying into loyalty programs.
Okay, yeah, that would definitely get my attention.
Right.
It's not just convenience anymore. It's like integrated into how people actually use their phones.
Exactly. It's about tapping into their digital lives.
But they need a partner who's willing to really go all in, not just, some basic cross-promotion.
Oh, absolutely. We're talking high-impact stuff. Stuff that grabs attention. And it can't be about playing catch-up either.
Right.
VIL needs to be showcasing innovation that actually solves real problems for Indian consumers.
Okay, so less flashy tech demos, more practical stuff.
Exactly. Imagine if they were known for incredibly reliable rural connectivity, like using some tech that no one else has figured out.
Right.
That's a story that resonates way beyond just how fast your internet is.
It's about being the solution people need, not just another option.
Right, and building on that, they could really double down on their sustainability efforts.
Sustainability, yes. It's not just a buzzword anymore. It's something people really care about.
It is, especially younger generations. They want to see companies doing the right thing.
Absolutely. But what does that actually look like for a telecom company?
Well, on a practical level, reducing their environmental impact,
Okay.
energy-efficient networks, responsible e-waste management, sustainable sourcing, those kinds of things.
Yeah, makes sense.
Those are all important, but I think VIL has a chance to go even further.
How so?
They could use their technology, their reach, to actually address some of India's big social challenges.
Oh, interesting.
Bridging the digital divide, improving healthcare access in rural communities, empowering women through tech.
Okay, so it's about using their platform for good.
Exactly. And it's not just about doing the right thing, it's smart business too.
Right.
Consumers want to support companies that align with their values.
So it's a win-win, they make a difference, and they strengthen their brand.
Exactly. And it makes them more attractive to investors too,
Oh, yeah.
who wouldn't want to invest in a company that's making a positive impact.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. There are investments, network, digital services, financials, and these potential areas for bolder moves. You've given a pretty complete picture of where they stand.
We have.
But if you had to sum it up, what's your overall assessment? Are you optimistic about VLIL's future?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, it's tough to say.
Yeah.
There are definitely reasons to be optimistic. They're making smart moves. They're investing in the right areas. And they seem to be aware of the challenges, but there's still a lot of unknowns.
Right.
The competition is fierce. The market is constantly evolving, and there are things they can't control.
Right.
Government regulations, global economics, those can have a huge impact.
So it's a wait-and-see kind of situation.
It is. They have the potential.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be easy.
They've got their work cut out for them.
They do. They need to execute perfectly, stay ahead of the curve, and be ready to adapt. That's how they win.
So the pieces are there, but it comes down to putting it all together.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing so interesting.
It does.
We're basically watching this high-stakes drama play out in real time, and we don't know how it ends.
It's a real-life thriller.
It is.
Well, for our listener who's been following VIL's story,
Yeah.
I think this deep dive has given them a lot to think about.
I hope so. It's been great exploring all this with you.
Likewise.
And I hope our listener found it valuable, too.
As always, thanks for sharing your expertise. And to our listener, we encourage you to keep digging into this.
Yeah.
The telecom industry is constantly changing. VIL's story is far from over.
That's for sure. Keep asking questions. Stay curious. There's a whole lot more to discover.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Until next time, happy exploring.